Hey, Will, welcome into the Lucky Orange Show.
Hey, Sean, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, we've spoken previously about conversion rate optimization in a variety of different contexts, and there's all sorts of different approaches to CRO. Let's just start by talking about your approach and what makes up the kind of the core elements of the customers who click conversion rate optimization approach.
Yeah, sure. So, I guess just a very quick, brief bit of that background. My background was in house for some D2C brands, and as just general marketing. These were small, startups. So doing a bit of everything, and just it was actually two companies in a row that I had the same problem, which was we were given decent marketing budgets and told go acquire customers. We weren't converting well enough, as well as we should be, and we weren't retaining people when we actually did convert them. So I started to do more customer research myself, find out what was actually holding back people from making the purchase, what meant they were not coming back, and kind of just almost pushed myself into the product team and said, look, you're going to deal with me because no one else is trying to fix this.
Right.
And, I'm coming to you with customer research and saying, look, this is what they want. So I left my last job in November 19. So just before COVID. And yeah, the idea was a CRO agency for e-commerce brands that, fit with my experience, my approach to things and how I want to help brands grow through understanding their customers. And that's, customer-led CRO really. And I think what our methodology obviously came a little bit after that. You don't just have that from day one. And I kind of realized through a bunch of our tests, I think we'd run probably a couple of hundred tests, everything seemed to fall into like these three categories, which was usability, anxiety, and motivation, which is our methodology. It's the UAM method. Yeah. So usability is essentially the functionality of the website. How easily it helps people find what they're looking for and buy it. Anxiety is all their questions and concerns related to the purchase, and motivation is, are we actually exciting them and encouraging them to make this purchase? And yeah, everything just comes from customer research really, and the data, and using that to identify these different opportunities for improving a website, and kind of putting them into these buckets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to unpack, really each of those elements. And you mentioned customer research already. Would that be the primary way you go about identifying that a visitor is having anxiety or is bringing motivation, or visitors in general? Or there sort of other methods that you go about to identify what might be happening on the site?
Yeah, so it's kind of I don't want to say exactly a 3-stage process, because they don't necessarily have to. It's not like step 1 do this, step 2 do that. It's a bit flexible.
Right.
But a good starting place is Google Analytics. Right, look at the purchase funnel in GA4 and see where are people dropping off. Right, so most common places that we see big issues that are not the easy issues to fix tend to be product views and add to cart. Mm-hmm. So a lot of brands have difficulty actually getting people to view a product in the first place and then getting those people to add to cart. So, but obviously at this stage, all we know is where the problem is on the website, not what it is, how to fix it, anything like that. And another part of this is, especially later down the funnel, right? So the begin checkout rate, sometimes when that's low, which means that people are adding to cart, but they're not entering checkout, it doesn't necessarily mean the problem is with that step of the funnel, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean it's your slide cart or your smart cart or your cart page. It could still be the PDP, which is the issue, right? Because they weren't confident they were adding the right cart to product in the first place. But going back to like PLP, PDP, what we would do next is look at heat maps and session recordings, right? So a tool like Lucky Orange. And there we're looking at what people are actually doing on those pages, right? What elements do they interact with? What they're not interacting with? What are they seeing? What are they not seeing? All this kind of, what's actually going on these pages. And a key part of this is segmentation, right? Because if you look at it in aggregate, you don't really get any major insights, because you're going to get a big red dot over a particular element, and you've got no idea whether these people buy or not. So you would look at, you could look at, have they converted? Because that really is the end goal, right? But you can also look at, did they add to cart, for example, right? And just see, did they take that action? So you'd filter for all the people who did not add to cart and look at what are they doing on that PDP, what information are they looking at. Session recordings, you might look at how long people spend on the page. And if they are spending a short period of time on the page, again, like what do they do on the page? Are they scrolling, not scrolling? Do they click on the image gallery? Is there a pop-up that comes up and so they just leave the site? So the heat maps and session recordings give us a much better feel for what's actually going on in this page. What do we think is important to customers and what's not? And then there's the customer research side, which is getting them to actually tell us, what's going on here. Why didn't they purchase, or why did they purchase? What's important to them? So if we get a load of information from the purchasers saying, their primary goal for buying this supplement was to lose weight, then if we can see that the people who are not purchasing don't interact and don't see the elements on the product page which explain how the product does that, then that could be a real reason why they're not converting. And then obviously if we get the information from those people, so these will be people who they're on a brand's email list, for example, but haven't made a purchase. You email them, what's the main reason you didn't make a purchase today? Or you could use an on-site pop-up, on-site survey widget, and that then might confirm some of that information for you. If you're getting loads of people saying, well, I don't know if this product's going to help me lose weight, then you've now confirmed that that's the most important piece of information for them, and you've confirmed that people who don't buy don't see this information.
And I imagine too, if even if they're seeing or if you're looking at session recordings and heat maps and they maybe seeing the information, maybe it's just not being communicated properly. And so maybe instead of shifting the order of the page to prioritize that information higher, it might be a copy change that has to happen to increase that motivation, really increase clarity.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to the weight loss thing, right? A lot of the time, weight loss is not the real reason people want the supplements.
Sure.
Right? There's got to be a reason why you need the weight loss. Either you're, I guess, quite significantly overweight and for health reasons you need to lose it, or you might have an event coming up, or maybe you just don't feel comfortable right now and you would prefer to feel more comfortable in yourself and lose a bit of weight. If you're not getting that message across on the page, people don't get it. Mm-hmm. And it's just it's a feature, right? It helps you lose weight. That's a feature. If it's going to help me look in the right shape for a wedding, that's the end goal that I actually want. And if I believe that this is the product that's going to help me do that, then that's the route to go down and route to purchase.
Having more conversations with your customers and potential customers, it almost seems like a no-brainer to learn more about them, learn more about what motivates them, what might cause them anxiety. Can we talk through a little bit how that interview would sort of go? What sort of questions do you sort of ask the customers to get at what's driving this? Because I imagine most people might come out and say, well, here's my initial reason why I'm looking for a weight loss product. What sort of questions can you go after to get at those secondary factors that can really help bolster the conversion rate optimization efforts?
Yeah, so obviously you've got those two audiences to consider. You've got the people who have made a purchase. So the questions are a bit different for them, and the people who haven't purchased. Normally, an interview is going to be with someone who has purchased. It's just way more difficult to get someone in who onto a call who has not made a purchase yet.
Sure.
Generally, you can get some email responses from them. You can get a survey filled out to a reasonable level, but getting them on an interview is pretty difficult. So you kind of start a bit easy. You start with the consideration process. What led you? What triggered you to look for these products? it can be where were you when you started researching? What did that research phase look like? As I said, what triggered you to start looking for a product to do this? Then you might ask about, are there any alternatives they've used? It doesn't have to be a competing product, right? It can be just an alternative product, which could be a completely different category, right? There's the famous customer interview example about the McDonald's milkshake, right? It was really, really popular with people driving to work. They just wanted something they could grab quickly. It was in a container, so it's easy to consume on the way. They've generally consumed it on the way so they get to work. But you would never have considered that as an alternative to a breakfast product.
Right.
So you really got to dive into what people are trying to achieve. Yeah, the alternatives, what they like, what they dislike about them, what information is important to them about the product, or what features are important, what benefits are important is a difficult one to ask people. And obviously, you're not using these direct questions; these are just topics that you're going for. But yes, essentially, you want to try and understand what was the decision making process that led to the purchase. What other experiences have they had? What's important? What's not important? Sometimes it could be who else was involved in the purchase.
Yeah.
Did they ask someone else's opinion, or does generally someone else sign off on the purchase? Actually,
that makes sense.
It can vary a lot, and sometimes what we normally do when we start with the client is we will go a bit broader with the interviews and just a bit more general around those products and things. Later down the line, you can get a bit more specific, right? So you can say, like, we've got this one, I guess, coming back to the weight loss example, or maybe not weight loss because there is a few options. But if you're trying to figure out that wording, right? What's the wording that's really going to resonate with people and convince them that this is the product for them? So you might actually discard a lot of the rest of those questions and just focus on what's important to you, like why do you want this product, what triggered you to purchase, and just really focus on those areas to really understand what was going on there. And then that's probably content that you could use in advertising a bit more.
Yeah, and I imagine as the relationship with a customers who click clients progresses, you do tend to get more specific as the site gets more optimized, the experience gets more optimized. And I know that you said there's no bulletproof order of operations with using heat maps and session recordings and then going to surveys and then coming back. Do you find that when you get information from those customer conversations, it can trigger a secondary or maybe another round of research with the CRO tools to say, we're hearing this from people, let's see how that might be reflecting in the on-site experience before you go make changes to the site?
Yeah, absolutely. If let's pick a different category. I don't know, TVs. I don't know, this could be a really TVs, bad example to use.
Coffee.
Or coffee. Yeah, let's do coffee because there's a lot more variety of stuff to talk about with that. Let's say you interview your buyers and they all say this piece of information was really important, the origin of it, or like fair trade. They actually do think that fair trade is really, really important to them. You might look at your website and say, well, we've got fair trade information on there. And two different examples could be happening. The first could be, the information is on the site, but the customers don't see it. Right? So it's hidden in an accordion menu, or it's at the very bottom of the page beneath the reviews and no one scrolls past the reviews. Right? So the brand might be absolutely adamant that information is there. So therefore it can't be that important, when actually, you look at the scroll maps and session recordings and things, you see people don't see it. The second thing could be, or the alternative could be, that information is there, people don't see it, and like you said earlier, the message is wrong. And actually, maybe no one does care about fair trade. People care about, anti-slavery. Right? So even though you might consider it kind of the same thing, almost like under the same category, it's actually the like anti-slavery thing that people go, oh, that's the message I want to see. That's the one that makes me comfortable. Do you know the brand Tony's Chocolonely?
I don't think so.
Chocolate bar?
No.
they do a big thing about anti-slavery.
Hmm.
Right, that's one of their big messages. So it's not fair trade. In fact, I think if you ask them about it, they would say fair trade is just a generic. It's a generic tag that so many brands have put on
Sure.
their
Yeah.
products, and it's what does it actually mean? So their big thing is anti-slavery. So that's when you have to say, yeah, what are people actually telling us in these interviews? What's the message? What's the wording that they're using to describe the key things about the product? And are we doing that ourselves? Another thing I guess could be around like lighting. One that's come up with a client recently for lighting is the client will put lumens on the information. People don't know what lumens are. They don't know what it means, right? And it's on a scale from like, I don't know, you get light bulbs at about 300, I think, all the way up to about 6,000. If you're a relatively uneducated consumer in that area, you just don't have a clue. And then it comes to, one I've been looking at recently, because I've bought some lighting recently. The warmth of the light. Do you want a warm white, a cool white,
Mm-hmm.
all these different things, and you're looking at it like, if that's all it says on the label, like what do you do there? So then you've got to look at, well, do we need some sort of color chart for it? What's the different way you can do this? And when you're approaching it from a CRO point of view, so sometimes you have to take an MVP approach to it, right? There's a really, really complex methods you could go down the route of to show people what the different lumens are and light types and stuff. But first, you want to understand, is that information actually important to them, and how important is it? So the first thing you would do is you could probably get some generic lighting chart, stick it on the product pages where it's visible, and just see, are people clicking this? Are they interacting with it?
Yeah.
Because the more people who click on it, the more the bigger the indication is that this is important information they want to understand. And from there, you might run 1 or 2 tests, slowly developing that. And then the third option might be you literally just you create a video where you have a lamp in a room, and it's one version of the lighting, and then the video just takes you through what each of those lightings looks like in that room, which actually I think is a great idea that I need to note down for my client.
Product
But
video, yeah.
That's not even that difficult of a video to do, really. But the idea is, you kind of you verify the idea or qualify the idea with a bit of research, a bit of that data, a minimum viable product test, minimum viable test, and then you start to expand it.
And I imagine with the lighting example in a customer interview, that could be as simple as, one of the things we're trying to communicate is the range of lumens that are available, or the range of temperatures that are available, and talking to them about what part of that they understand and how they might best understand it. Because I'm similar to what you're talking about. I would resonate with the color of that in a real setting, maybe less so a 2D color chart. A video would be great, because then I can look up at the ceiling and say, does that match what I already have in my house? Or is that what I'm looking for this space? And really dig into the plainest language possible, while not losing any of the technical and required information. What's the plainest and best way possible to communicate that?
Yeah. I mean, another example, like kind of similar example, is I worked with a custom PC builder brand.
Right.
So they had a configurator. You would pick a kind of very basic spec, and then you would go and say, well, I want this motherboard, this processor, this graphics card, sound card, all the different options. I played around with it myself, and I thought, this is a little bit difficult. Like, I don't really know what's going on here. As far as I could tell, 2 graphics cards looked identical.
Sure.
But one was, £200 more expensive. So I'm like, what is going on here? And my suspicion was that actually people don't really know what they're doing with this configurator. And a lot of people will either be probably just picking the best thing they can afford within their budget, and leaning it towards the items that they know are most important. So if someone is a gamer, they're going to try and get the best graphics card they can afford in their budget, provided the rest of it is compatible. And their compatibility stuff wasn't great either, because it just said it's not compatible. And I went out, did these interviews, spoke to a bunch of people, and yeah, basically everyone was like, I kind of know that some of these are. We actually did some surveys as well to get scorings. A lot of the feedback was, we know these components are important, but we don't know how to balance the build. Like, I don't know if I want a powerful graphics card, I don't know which motherboard or which processor I need, and I don't know whether I'm buying like the minimum level processor for the graphics card that I want, and therefore it's going to be, might not be good in a year, or there's going to be a little performance issue. It might only allow me to play games on the lowest settings, right? And there wasn't very much information about that. And I remember one of the guys on the interview was the CTO for a like IT, just an IT firm, IT support firm, I think it was. And he said, he knows what each of these components are. He doesn't know how to put it together in the most efficient and balanced way. So that was a great way of, using a bit of customer feedback to find out, what's actually going on here.
And that also comes with understanding, your audience. If you're selling lighting to contractors and construction companies who know exactly what they want down to the, really hyper specific specs, then maybe you go there and you have searching capabilities by that. But if you're selling cosmetics and somebody just wants to know, look, I know that I have 2 or 3 different products that I need to combine to use to play well with my skin type or whatever, helping people understand this is what actually matters. If they're not hyper experts, these are the things that you should be paying attention to.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, it came up on a call I was on earlier. There's this strange idea. I think we were talking about B2B for that specific example, but I'd had another conversation B2C. There's almost a strange idea that if you can get someone to click on an ad, you've actually done most of the job, and they will probably purchase unless it is actually not the correct product for them. When actually it's completely the other way. The ad is about maybe 10% of the job done, because the purpose of the ad is to get someone to click. I hate to use a great hook. You get someone excited, they click to learn more information. They might not have a clue what they're doing, right? If you buy lighting once every few years, even if you've done that 10 times over 10, 15 years, you might still need the information again as a reminder of like, what is this? What exactly does it mean? Which one is the right fit for me? So yeah, it's learning, finding out what information is important, not just to new customers and new people in the category, but also just to everyone really. Because yeah, like you said, someone who buys something once a year is still going to have a very different approach to it to someone who spends hundreds or thousands every day and every week, because it's their job.
And people are motivated by people care about the things that fall into the bucket of anxiety and the bucket of motivation. And for most people, most people will have a combination of those two feelings and emotions and drivers within their purchase product. Maybe not fully consciously for every single thing they buy. That would be rough, but those are two opposing forces. And I'm curious if the general goal is to enhance and lean into motivations and quell and tamp down anxiety, or if there are occasions where you say somebody's arriving on this site and we know that they are anxious about something, maybe we can focus on that and lean into that to get them to make a purchase. How do you kind of play with, once you've realized what the anxieties and the motivations are, how do you play with kind of the balance and combination of those to drive outcomes for clients?
It's interesting how you've described it, because the kind of the way you've described it, we would put that anxiety piece actually in our motivation.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
The bit that we want to target like that. What's their anxiety? The anxiety might be my skin isn't great,
which is a motivation.
I need to fix it. So we're going to try and motivate you to buy this product to fix that anxiety. When we talk about anxieties, it's the the questions and concerns someone has about buying your products and from you.
Yep.
So let's say skincare. The questions might be, obviously, what type of skin is this for? What conditions does it help with? What ingredients does it have? Do other people like it and use it? Is there proof? Questions about the business might be, who are you? Should I trust you? Do other people trust you? Can I get in touch with you? What happens if my product's rubbish? Returns and all that policy. So it's really the questions someone is asking themselves when they are in that purchase journey about your products and your business. Are you dealing with those questions? And normally I would put most things down the question side, but the anxieties might come up around. I think another one, and I'm not going to explain this example very well because I don't have expertise in this area. I worked with a food brand before, and they had listed the allergy as dairy. And there were comments on their Facebook ads about how the allergen is not dairy, the allergen is milk. And I don't know that. I have no allergies, so
right.
I don't really know about this stuff. It did make me think, well, you're going to get some people who, they have, I guess they have multiple dairy-based allergies, and so dairy is enough for them to say, cool, I don't need it. But if actually the allergen in this product is milk and someone is able to eat cheese, I don't know if this is the case, but for the purpose of the example, if they're able to eat cheese, there's going to be like a little bit of anxiety, a bit of a question there, because they will probably know that allergen information is incorrect. Because it's not specific enough to them, they don't know whether they can buy it or not, and so they don't.
So then maybe the balance is less so balancing anxiety and motivation and the sense that I was saying, but more so if your brand is brand new and your product is brand new, nobody's ever heard of you, maybe you do need to spend a little bit more page space on prioritizing trust icons, or if you have reviews, prioritizing those and things above maybe what a more established brand would be doing on a page. Would you agree with that it kind of shifts the priority of overcoming those friction points and objections from an anxiety standpoint about your brand and the purchase process can change over time?
Yeah, and I think, there is no one size fits all, right?
Sure.
The idea of put reviews on your product pages and you'll see an improvement in conversion rate, that's not true, right? It works differently for different brands. I've seen, if you just do the standard review score, number of reviews, if you click on that, you go down to the review section. If you've got like 5 reviews, this could have a negative impact on you.
Yeah.
Right? Because it doesn't look good. Because you've only got 5 reviews. It might be 5-star, and that will help some people, but you'll get some people who go, well, actually, if you've got 5 5-star reviews, that's,
what's going on here?
I'm not sure about this. Like,
yeah.
Why haven't you got many customers? And there's always a question about, if you're rated as 5-star, there's a question about how legit that is and whether you're moderating. Obviously, if you only got 5, it's actually probably more likely you do have 5 genuine 5-star reviews. But what I think is probably the case is you've got a massive brand, let's say True Classic. Their product pages have like 40,000 reviews now for their products. So they can probably get away with just stating 4.7 star, 40,112 reviews, and then just have that review section at the bottom, and that could be enough social proof for them, right? Because you see those numbers, you might have a quick look and say, okay, there's loads of reviews here, this is genuine, I'm fine. For a small brand, you might have to use, like you said, more of that real estate on the page to show off different types of social proof, maybe some social proof from elsewhere, not from your review widget. Get some UGC, get some videos on there. You might have to put some more work into it because you don't have that brand recognition and you don't have the quantity of one type of social proof to make that work hard enough for you.
Yeah, you got to lean into something else. Whether it's if you do have a high quality product, there's a Lucky Orange customer that sells custom suits bespoke, really super nice suits. Some objections to overcome in general there with buying a product like that online. But one thing that they've done really well is they show sort of behind the scenes videos. We're saying it's handmade. We're showing you it's handmade. We're showing you the people making it in small quantities. And we're highlighting why this is something that's worth your investment and your trust and worth waiting 4 to 8 weeks for. All these things that could be objections, they've really said, we're going to overcome this by what some might put into the bucket of brand and highlight that on the page, as opposed to just saying, here's words about our product, trust us.
Yeah. I think that's a great example. If you don't have that external social proof, what can you do to show people that you are a legitimate business? And if you've got your own factory or workshop, do some videos in there. There's a brand. To be fair, this is quite a big brand. I can't actually remember the name now, but they sell like parts for motorbikes, based in the US. I think they're pretty big. On a lot of their product pages, they have a video of a guy who does reviews of these products. Oh, sorry, I don't think it's reviews of the products. I think it's a category explanation. Right, yeah. So it's it doesn't do it for every product because they've got thousands of SKUs. So what he does is, I think he will get a few of that category and then explain what the differences are between different types. So it's not product specific information, but it's information that people find useful, and it just shows that there is someone real doing this. And if they're willing to put that effort in to create a video like that, that's a trust point.
Yeah. The other third factor here is usability and the UAM method. And usability seems like the one of the three that, if there are major issues there, the other two, not that they don't matter, but that they kind of fall to the wayside for a second. If your site isn't rendering properly, if your nav is all messed up, can you talk about the role that usability plays in the process, or in some of these examples where it's kind of the first thing in the pecking order?
Yeah, so they definitely do all work together. If I answer all your questions about a product, but I do nothing to excite you about it, you might buy it, but you might also say, I'll just check a couple of other websites, or I'll check Amazon. You don't feel the need to purchase it. Likewise, I can make you feel like this is the most incredible product in the world, but if you've got a really important question about it, the food example, right? I can make it seem like this is the most incredible dish in the world, but if I am not telling you whether it's got an allergen or not, if you have that allergen, you can't buy it. Right?
Sure.
And it doesn't even have to be allergens. There could be other ingredients that some people want to know about. If it's in there, they won't buy it. If they don't know, they won't buy it. So back to usability piece. Obviously, a key thing is finding products to buy, and the other part is buying them. So if I land on your website, I'd say high chance that I've landed on a landing page, a product page, or a collection page, something like that. That's where most ads should be going anyway. Let's say I land on a product and I look at this and I think it's not quite right. It's not actually what I searched for, or it's not what I had in mind when I was doing a Google search, but I've clicked through, I found something. It's not quite right for me. How good a job does the website do at helping me find the one I want? So it could be a case of saying, Amazon obviously does a great job of this. It could just be the case of saying, here's all the variants of this product. So just click through to the one you want. It could be that you have literally a couple of options below it. It just says, did you? You can also buy the pro version or the basic version. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you do decide to use the search function on the navigation, is it just obvious what I need to do to get to the product? Right. One of my biggest pet peeves about a website is where you open up the navigation and there are options there that mean nothing to you because they're branded terms, right? In fashion and jewelry, I really hate collections.
Yeah.
And unless if it's the winter collection, summer collection, that's absolutely fine. You know what that is. But if they just put a name on it, you've got no idea what to expect when you click through to that. right? Sort of same thing again with a PC brand, competitors. My client, you open the menu and they had the Rocket series or something, and you're looking at like you have to open up all three of those to have an idea of what's going on. And then for PCs, you still have to then get a description to know what these are actually designed for. So that's my biggest pet peeve. It really should just be, if you're a clothing brand, men's, women's, shirts, dresses, trousers, all that sort of thing. Just make it super obvious what someone is going to click through to.
I mean, that goes back to all the communication stuff that we've been talking about. Is just make it clear, speak in their language. Nobody in those customer interviews is saying, I want the super hyper power collection. They're saying, I want this sort of thing out of my computer.
It's most common in cars. I think you get the models, but I bet the vast majority of people who go to a dealership or do a search online are not searching for the model from a brand. They are searching for a brand and then how many seats, how many doors, engine type, the type of car they're looking for. And then the dealer will go, oh, that's this model. And the customer's like, yeah, all right, cool. If it is, great, but let's have a look at it and see if it's right. So yeah, that's a big one. Search, have a good search function. Obviously show people the results they're looking for. If you can show it to them before they've hit enter and stuff, that's all really helpful. But yes, we want to get people to products. On the product page, we want to make it really easy for people to select their options. So if I need to pick a size, just make it easy. If there's different options for a product, make it easy. Deal with error messages properly. Right. So if I don't select my options and I try to add to cart, don't just reject it. Tell me which options I need to select. Make it obvious. The biggest one from the checkout journey is pretty much gone, which is fantastic. We do see it every now and again, and that's guest checkout. Not having guest checkout.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the biggest win for any brand. If you're still making people create an account in order to check out, get rid of that and allow them to guest checkout. Obviously, some circumstances you need an account for some reason. But yeah, essentially it's just if all the information is there and I can find it easily, which is obviously part of usability as well. Can I just find the product I want and can I add to cart, select my options, add to cart, go to checkout, put my details in, buy.
Yeah.
Done.
The majority of traffic is coming to product page, collections page, some sort of intentional landing page. How does this advice carry over to a home page? Is that, generally speaking, would you focus on usability and getting people through to the right part of the site? Or is there also, I'm sure there's a role for the motivation anxiety side of it, but because that can be so product specific, how does this all kind of apply when you look at a homepage?
Yeah, there's still some motivation and anxiety piece to cover. You want to get some social proof on there. You want to have a value statement so people get excited. They know they're in the right place and stuff. But I'd say the homepage, it's a usability piece really. It's I've landed here again. How quickly can I go find a product that I want?
Yeah.
Right? Do you have a massive carousel that's promoting very specific things? That gets in the way. Is your menu hidden? That gets in the way. You just want people to click on a category that they're interested in, the shop now button. You need to make sure that they are confident they're in the right place. Right. So if I land on the homepage of a fashion brand, it should be obvious to me that it's a fashion brand.
Right.
And same for whatever else you're selling. You don't necessarily have to call it out too much and be too specific. But if you sell supplements, the first thing I see is probably a bundle of, a little display of the different supplements. But then it's just, what do I want a supplement for? Or what type of clothing am I trying to buy? Can I find that option really quickly and get into the actual kind of purchase journey?
Yeah. Usability, anxiety, motivation. It's all one happy pursuit of increasing conversions. And it makes a lot of sense to me. And I hope that this conversation resonates with people who are, looking at their website, looking at their conversion rate, looking at their customer feedback scores and saying, I know we can do better. I don't know where to start. These are 3 great places to start with the CRO tools, with the customer feedback interviews. It really is a great way, I think, to look at CRO and break it down into a meaningful, approachable way to go about things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks, Will, for sharing your time and wisdom with us today. If people want to learn more about Customers Who Click and follow along with everything that you're out there talking about, where can they find you?
Yeah, either at customerswhoclick.com, which is our website's where you'll find information about what we do, how we work with clients, case studies, and all that. I share loads of CRO related content on LinkedIn. So just Will Laurenson on LinkedIn. I've got a little hand pointing at my name, so it stands out a little bit more. And I also host the Customers Who Click podcast. So weekly interview. We've had you on, Sean, a month ago now.
Yeah.
And it's all just kind of actionable CRO related advice.
Very cool. Thanks, Will. Have a great day.
Thanks.